Our first Darshan. In the summer of 1950, when my father discovered polyps in the bladder, he had to go to the hospital in Vellore for treatment. Since he suffered from severe pain and bleeding, the doctors decided that surgery would take place the next day itself. Just a few minutes after the operation began the next morning, the operating room was plunged into darkness due to power failure, and the surgeon could not continue with the already initiated intervention. Because there were no generators, everybody was looking for lanterns, flashlights, and candles, leaving only an older sister back to monitor the patient on the operating table. The minutes passed, and when the woman saw blood was dripping onto the floor, she began to pray fervently to Jesus Christ. Because the effect of chloroform was gone, my father was conscious again and was suffering from unbearable pain, which left him moaning. In this state, he began cursing and abusing everything and everyone. When finally he could not stand it any longer, he shouted, "If God is anywhere, why doesn't he save me now?" Within seconds there was a knock, and his sister hurried to open the door. She saw just a something which had a small hint of orange and heard a voice saying, "Why does the patient cry? This is Sai Baba's vibhati. Give it to him." And as he spoke, he poured a fine white powder in her palm. She took it, sprinkled it on her father, while she stroked his forehead, and in a few seconds he was asleep again. Soon the lights were back again, and the surgeon was ready to continue from where he had interrupted his work. The operation was completed. However, to his amazement, the bandages were already applied. The doctor and his staff could not believe their eyes and asked the woman to tell them the truth about who had done this. She swore that no one had entered the operating room while they were all away. Of course, nobody would believe her. When she was finally threatened with dismissal, she broke down and told them of the small craft, the orange sleeves, and a white powder that they had applied. And that's it. Father was recovering quickly and then began to search for Sai Baba. Father felt that if this little vibhuti of Sai Baba could save his life, what would be the tremendous power of this man? He moved further inquiries and learned that there was a young man in Andhra with that name. In 1951, during our next summer holiday, we went in search of Swami in the south of Delhi. We arrived by train in Bangalore, and the name of that place was Puttaparthi. During that time, there were no trains, buses, or even roads. We covered the remaining distance by car, on foot, and by ox cart. In some places, we had to cross the river and prayed that we would not fall into the water. After about 5 hours in an ox cart, we reached the sand of Chhatravathi. Stiff, hinged, heated, hungry, and happy to make it. It was our very first bullock cart ride. But all was forgotten when we saw a small, graceful, charming figure in a long orange robe. The smile on the sand floated towards us. My father simply opened the door to the house, shouting, "Was it you who came to the hospital and saved my life?" And he replied, "Whenever someone calls me in trouble or in pain, I hasten to his rescue. God is not waiting to see whether we are black, white, or blue. I respond immediately to anyone who calls out for me because he is suffering. If you need me, then you deserve me," he says. And so we began a lifelong love of history from that first Darshan.